Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I know that just recently the central bank has increased its interest rate, and we do encourage you to think like the bank, and that's why you're here today. So I understand it's financial education. The best thing is to learn how the bank operates, how debt works, and I understand it's related to real estate. At the same time, you can invest in gold, you can invest in foreign exchange, etc. Us as investors in the group, we use real estate as our vehicle to invest, to grow our wealth. And I love the term that be the bank because we see the shiniest building in the city, in the biggest cities are always the banks, are always the banks. And hi, May, you just turned on your camera. So welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us and take action with your camera on. I'm so happy to see more and more people coming in at the same time with your cameras on. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. And my name is Brooke. I'm one of the mentors on the team. And today, Nina, as a strategy coach, is also here with us today in case I am going through the presentation and I didn't see your questions. I just want you to know that Nina might be able to help. At the same time, I see Mike, another strategy coach on the team, will also be able to answer your questions. At the same time, I know it's in the evening and perhaps late for some people. If you're a baby, you sleep at 7:30. Regardless, I'm going to be here till the very end in case you have any questions, And I'll just let it out. It's mainly about private lending. However, under the umbrella of private lending, there are several forms or different ways you can structure a deal. And the whole point is to open your eyes to a different type of OPM. I said be the bank. However, if the bank says no, who has been refused by the bank? Oh, not a lot of people. Okay. If that's the case, make sure you do this as your homework. Reach out and see what the bank will provide to you, because one of the things is OPM. At the same time, just because the bank says no, it doesn't mean that there are no other resources. And that's why we want to be the bank. And I believe there are other people who want to be the bank as well. So the point of being an educated investor is to teach you the right way to be educated and be seasoned investor. At the same time, even though I want to be an accountant and lawyer, I want to be as smart as my power team. However, I'm here as an educated investor, and all the experience I'm sharing here today are our collective experience and knowledge. Everything we provide are for educational purpose only. So I want you to be able to utilize different tools, At the same time, there are people who are licensed and highly educated to be on your power team. Just to name a few, mortgage brokers, accountants, lawyers. Can somebody give me a few other examples of who could also be on your power team?
Tax advisors.
There you go. And who else? There's one very important one I didn't list there.
Property manager.
Property manager. Very good. Very good.
Realtor.
Realtor. Yes, I'm surprised realtor was not on the list. That's my bad. I was supposed to be one of the first. However, at the same time, I want you to think who could be on your power team. And don't forget that us on the team, with our experience, we also want you to leverage our OPK, our knowledge, other people's knowledge. And you can definitely leverage your power team's experience. By the way, I don't see a lot of Asian faces here. Totally fine. I love this old saying in Chinese, and I think it perfectly explained what a power team means. These are just some of the people that could be on your power team and not limited to the list here. Your mentor at the same time is also here to support you. Our role is to check your blind spots. I must say, we're not perfect. I'm constantly learning as well. What's different about TYT is that all of us are actively investing at the same time. So the market constantly changes. There's some evergreen information out here. At the same time, you might also hear what's happening in the market or at the same time, what's happening in the economy, what's happening to the immigration policies in Canada, etc. And to summarize what a power team means, I love this. I'm just going to translate it. This is a little reminder for myself. You don't have to be the smartest one in the room here. I'm definitely not the smartest one. And I appreciate you giving me feedback. At the same time, I always consult my power team members. You might not just have one lawyer. You could have a real estate closing lawyer. You could have somebody who's there to look at asset protection. If you have kids, you might also look at how you're gonna prolong your legacy at the same time. Just a reminder as well, this Saturday, it's totally open to everybody. We're gonna have a Saturday morning coffee chat, and we'll be focusing on asset protection and estate planning this time. There's a lot of resources at TYT. In case you miss anything, reach out to our strategy coaches. At the same time, you can also go on our website. And I do love this quote. I got sidetracked a little bit. However, I do want to summarize it for you so you have an idea what you need on your power team. If you find somebody who's smart, use them to plan. If you find somebody who's strong, use their strength. Even a mover could be somebody on your power team. If you find somebody brave, leverage their courage. If you find somebody who's really careful, not taking this step, this is actually the kind of people who are very good at doing their due diligence because they would think of everything. If you're none of the above, if you're not the smartest, if you're not the strongest, if you're not the most analytical, be the one who can lead. Be the one who can leverage your team. So this is actually a saying that's more than 1,000 years old. However, I think it summarizes who you want to be and who we are as investors to leverage other people's time, leverage other people's money, leverage other people's knowledge. A big part of it really about private lending or a bigger umbrella, creative financing, really is about leveraging other people's money. At the same time, you can leverage other people's time, other people's knowledge, other people's experience. Actually, I love the group today. Everybody with your camera on, I really appreciate it because I can see that you're focused. I don't care if you have to cook dinner, you have to eat in front of us. It's just life. And at the same time, I love that you're focusing on educating yourself. So I put this out there as a reminder. I know this is adult education and you by choice are here with us today. Number one, focus on the knowledge, focus on what we're doing today. Actually, as human beings, we are not able to multitask. Even though you're doing a lot of things, your focus is actually on one thing. I do want your focus to be on educating yourself. Number two, participate. And there's no stupid question at all. With your camera on, that's the first thing you do to participate. At the same time, if you don't want to talk on top of each other, you can definitely put your question in the chat as well. If it's something that's going to stop you from learning or you think that you have to have the questions answered, raise your hand or use that little icon out there. So participate. I do believe that besides acquiring the knowledge, you do have to take action. So the application of knowledge, so basically taking action, is what brings you to fulfillment so you can actually feel it. I do recognize that you're here to acquire knowledge. I love that. I love that because that's also part of taking action. However, take it a step further. Apply it. Even if you don't have a deal yet, analyze a deal, or go through the material. Go through the material because I'm just simplifying the numbers. The basics are there. This is how you learn. Number one, you read. And I think we're pretty lucky nowadays if you're not a reader, because you only attain 10% anyways. You can listen to Audible. You can listen to podcasts. And I love that you have your cameras on. At the same time, a lot of podcasts is also on YouTube. So that's me. I also want to see who's talking, their expressions. So that's the next level. You're going to get 30% of what you want to learn. watch it, see it, and do everything at the same time, participate. So it's a safe environment. So it's basically like simulation of all of the possible deals you're going to be analyzing out there. And this is what I'm doing now. By teaching, I'm actually sharing what I have learned. And it's on me if I didn't explain things well, or if you have any questions. Basically, everything we're working on in real estate requires grade A math. That's about it. So May, yes, if a kid has some basic math knowledge, they can add, subtract, multiply perhaps. She's able to learn also within the group. So kudos to her for being here. And I do believe you can get to 90%. At the same time, you have to have fun to remember how it feels. I love a quote. This is not in the presentation. However, I do love it, and I kept reminding myself as well. People will always remember how you make them feel. You might not remember what I say. You might not remember what's on the presentation. People will always remember how you make each other feel. So if you're having fun, you remember the experience, you're like, oh, when we talk about this particular deal, this is when we were joking about something else, we were having fun. That is your 10%. So when you reach the 90%, that's a 10% that will get you there. Okay? So relax, and there's no stupid question. I do want to make sure you're having fun learning and being inspired at the same time. If this is not your first seminar with us, Jake, I think this is your first one, and Chris in May. By show of hand that this is your first seminar with us. Okay, so for Chris. By the way, if this is not your first one, you know that at Trust Your Talent, there's always a system. We go through the fundamentals. However, if you go through the mental fundamentals, you know that you can fit the same model in any strategies. So I'm gonna volunteer a few alumni here to ask you questions throughout the presentation, because you participate, you'll remember. And also for the newbies, feel free to answer the question even if you don't know the answer. It will make sense. It will make a lot of sense as we go through it. So first thing first, real estate investing fundamentals. And it always goes back to you. Number two, why do we use private funds? It sounds risky for people who do not know it. That's why for a lot of people, acquiring knowledge is actually a way to feel more secure. If you're one of the people I mentioned, you're the kind that has to do your own due diligence, you're analytical. That's why you have to do your due diligence. There's no one answer that fit all. However, you do have your power team, and you do have a whole Trust Your Talent group that's here to support you. And we always follow the same system, the same fundamentals. I see a few people come in, so I'm going to acknowledge the people that are coming in a little bit late at the same time. However, if you have any questions, even if you're missing one or 2 points, don't worry about it. And by taking action, if you haven't done that, if you're just thinking about it, it's a dream. You did take the first step. If you believe in law of attraction, if you're thinking about it, it's a dream. You're slightly closer. If you can envision it, you actually make it possible. You can see that it is possible. And I do encourage you to take the next step. If you schedule it, it will be real. It is real. So if you haven't done that, if you do not have a strategy coach working with you yet, make sure you scan the QR code. So if you ask me, what's the next step to take? That's the most common question I get every time we have a seminar. The next step, they're like the counselor at your school. Even if you pick the major, you probably need somebody to guide you along the way. And I get that. It is a bigger group in here. You probably don't have the chance to tell us everything about you. However, we all start the same way. We all have a goal. We all have a vision. We all believe that real estate is the vehicle that we're going to utilize. So don't feel shy. We're all very friendly. Even if you just want to chat, we all have different stories too. So I do encourage you to do that because there are so many different strategies out there, even within the real estate investing circle. There are so many different things that you could do. At the same time, it might not fit everybody. It doesn't make sense for people to focus on all the majors. And we always say that we want to be the Harvard in financial education. This is really financial education. If you're having different streams of income, a lot of the things we're going through today, you can see that it could apply to something else that you're investing in at the same time. Really, it's about money. And there's so many things you can do. Like I mentioned, it's like a university. If you don't know what your major is going to be yet, we say minimum 3 things. Why minimum 3? We're always looking for exit strategies. What if one thing doesn't work? And I'm not saying bad things about people out there. At the same time, there are a lot of people who focus on one strategy in one market. When things change, something that might work in the past may not work today. What are you going to do? So always make sure you have 3x3. I trust your talent. We always say minimum 3 strategies and 3 exits at the same time. Focus on 3 majors. I know some people are double majored in Canada in university. At the same time, a lot of people choose to advance their education. So to get you started, focus on 3 strategies to start. Look for 3 different exits. So in terms of soft skills, everybody needs to understand how to structure your business, how to do business planning. So that's one of the soft skills you want to acquire as a business owner. And creative financing, which is what we're going to talk about today. Private lending is part of it. Once you have different tools, different ways of creating a deal. By the way, we always say that a good deal is found, a great deal is created. So if you know how to structure a deal, when somebody sees limitations, that's when you come in and make it a deal. So today we're going to talk about 2 or 3 different things that you can do under the private lending or creative financing umbrella. And at the same time, all the funds are backed by real estate. So yes, you can make money work hard for you once you have enough capital. You don't have to work on all the deals by yourself. At the same time, I definitely encourage you to do that. Do not invest in a deal if you don't understand how it works. Don't put your private funds into a deal if you don't understand how it works. That's why it's so important to understand how different deals work. And once you get into different strategies and in the advanced training, we'll also mention how you look at different KPIs. So key performance indicators differently when you get into different strategies. Really, it's just different majors. And at the same time, everybody has to take the basic classes or the soft skills that you need. And even under creative financing, there's the fundamentals and there's the slightly more advanced. And once you want to scale, we have creative financing 1 and 2. So there's no limitations as to how you can structure a deal. I do want to open your eyes today to private lending, hard money lending, and also I'll speak about RRSP. Everything we talk about today, make sure you reach out to a professional. And creative financing, we have the fundamentals because everybody will need it. And at the same time, we also have distressed properties as a fundamental class, updated this year, because everybody want to be able to force appreciate. By the way, we don't depend on appreciation. Write it down. Being an investor is about control. So we don't depend on the market going up to make profits. You have to understand how your money is going to work for you and under what strategy. That was to set you up to think about what your goals are. I know everybody talks about the goals. At the same time, really think about what you want to do with your time. And once you reach your financial goal, why are you here? Why are you here? Can everybody see the screen and vote? Perfect. I'll give you a minute to answer all the questions. I love that David and Diane are making collective decisions. I can see that they're discussing it. And Julia, too, take your time. You look like you're thinking. So take your time. And Naga, nice seeing you again. Okay. I'm still looking at it. I think a couple of people are still putting their answers in. Or some people might have changed the answers. Okay, oh good. I'm gonna share the results right now. Let me know when you can see the results. Yes? Can everybody see the results? It's pretty consistent. Creating cash flow, accumulate capital first so money can work for you. Perfect. I love that. Even if you don't have capital right now, if you accumulate capital, you can start to make money work for you. Or you can help other people to make their money work for you and for your investor as well. By show of hands, how many of you have kids? Okay. Okay. So I trust that one of the reasons you're here, you're one of those who put in creating wealth, legacy for your family. Or perhaps you're single. So yes, Dave, perhaps you're single and you have a cause that you're really passionate about as well. So yes, you want to make your money work for you. And yes, we're focused on how to make your capital work hard for you. Think about what your goals are. And everybody works harder when it comes to contributing to the society and helping others, actually, surprisingly. So I'll give you one example I learned. During COVID in the hospital, when they asked the doctors to put on the mask, they don't really think about it. However, they mention that when it comes to putting on a mask, you're actually reducing the risk of your patient getting sick. Then all of a sudden, all the doctors put on their mask. And I think if you're a parent, you can definitely relate to that. You need a bigger cause, a bigger why than yourself. So even though I'm going through my bio, at the same time, the whole point is for you to see that everybody takes on a different journey. I'm sure there's something that you and I could kind of resonate. Yes, I'm an immigrant, and at the same time, I have 2 kids. And I was born and raised in Taiwan. And yes, English is my second language. So I'm totally open to learning. If I said anything wrong or there's a better way of saying something, definitely let me know. We're about growing, about constantly improving. And I started the journey in 2016. That's actually, I see a lot of people also want to get out of your job, your job. That's actually when I started to get back to the workforce. I spent quite a lot of time with my kids as a stay-at-home mom. And it's when I actually went back to work and start to have one stream of income, I realized that we're actually under more stress because we have to pay tax. Kids are a little bit older. And in terms of time, now I have to work. I don't have as much time. If we work harder, we have to contribute more to RSP and we have less time. There must be a better way. There must be a better way. If we can put people on the moon, there must be a better way to learn about financial education. I actually have an MBA, and at the same time, I wasn't financially free. The more money we made, the more tax we had. My only income before I found a job was actually my spousal RSP. Even though it was spousal RSP, I didn't feel like it was my contribution. I'm just somebody else's wife. So at the same time, I thought if somebody's willing to show me the way, so same way, everybody at Trust Your Talent will be here to help you. If somebody's willing to show me the way, I was willing to invest in myself. And I do think that you have to follow the path of people who have been on the path that you want to be on. I realize people who are successful, and including my father, are authors. They share their knowledge. It could be by writing a book, it could be by speaking. And that's why I'm here. I'm actually crazy shy. Even as an Asian, I think I'm shyer than most Asian. So one of the things I wanted to do is learn how to speak in front of a big crowd, even if it's online. So same thing, I think there must be something that inspires you to be here today. It could be follow the path of somebody that you look up to. It could be one or two things, or it could be several things that they do. You want to follow their path and do the same thing. These are my whys, and one of my biggest why was actually move to a bigger home. This will be my last seminar in our old house. We actually already moved into our new home. Thank you, John. I'm crazy passionate about this because this is the work in progress for 2 years. I reached my financial freedom goal in 4 years. Actually, our goal for you is to reach your financial freedom goal in 2 to 4 years. I took a little bit longer because we have a big goal, and we're actually in Midtown Toronto. So I'm actually in our old home right now because the Wi-Fi and everything is still here. And besides my desk and my computer and my 2 monitors, there's nothing else in the house now because this is work in progress. I want you to think about every financial goal you have in a way that you can measure it. I'll give you one example. My story basically means that if we want a bigger home, $100,000 of additional mortgage means roughly $500-600 of monthly payment, roughly, depending on the interest rate you get. So I'm thinking my focus to start was lease option. And my family actually had pretty high expenses because we travel a lot. Since I'm an immigrant, my family's not here. We travel at least once a year back home, family of 4. So I'm thinking if I was able to focus on one lease option, and by the way, because I'm buying our home, I could not qualify for a mortgage. I have to save that room. And that's why you have to find a way. My way was to find joint venture partners. Say if each lease option deal, if you're here with me in the last seminar, $1,000. If you joint venture with somebody, $500 per deal. I mentioned that if you want to increase your budget by $100,000, aim to have $500 of cash flow. And for my family to travel back to Taiwan, 4 tickets, about $8,000. So you can think about, I could have a capital all at once, or I have cash flow. You focus on cash flow for your monthly expenses, for example. So I focus on a lump sum for me to fly back to Taiwan. So my very first lease option deal that I wholesale to one of the team members at Trust Your Talent, that actually flew 4 family members back to Taiwan. I get that a lot of people want to have consistent cash flow. Look at what your goals are. That's why I mentioned that one strategy might not help you reach your goal. At the same time, look what your buckets of goals are. So if your goal is like me, to have $500 of additional income, so you perhaps can pay for a trip, that is $6,000 a year. Or you want to upgrade your car, which means a car lease is additional $500. Depends on what your goals are. I'm not into luxury items. At the same time, I think we do encourage people to enjoy your life. We only live so long on this planet. So why don't you enjoy your life? Do what's really important to you. And I get that there's so many choices out there. It's crazy these days. I don't even know what each coffee means when I go to Starbucks. I know what I want. At the same time, when I built our home, there were 10 different crown moldings to choose from. And that's just one thing. And there are hundreds and hundreds of handles to pick from. So I do understand you have choices in life. One of our goals is to help you eliminate the noises and help you reach your goals. I do appreciate you being here. So thank you for sending out your gratitude, Namaka. I appreciate that. I also want to say that I'm really grateful that you choose to be here with me tonight, because this is also my choice. I know our time is worth everything, and perhaps you're leaving your kids aside so you can be here. So if your kid has to be here in front of the camera, I'm happy. that she's willing to join us at the same time. Really, it's the choice that we make. And at the same time, focus on the goal. At Trust Your Talent, we want to help you reach your financial goal in 2 to 5 years. I mentioned that it took me 4 years. And for some people, some students were able to reach their goal in a matter of 10 months. And on average, I've seen so many students with results. Reason being, we've all made mistakes. So every generation or everybody that comes on is supposed to learn from our mistakes. So it doesn't have to take that long. If I'm not able to make a difference in your life, I don't mind if you have to log out, if you don't think that you're learning anything here. However, I do encourage you to be open-minded. That's also why we focus so much on making a difference in everybody's life that come across Trust Your Talent. And money is actually something you can control. Nobody should be worried about money. I want your focus to be who you're going to spend time with, where your FU money is going to go, and really enjoy your time. Another way for you to plan out your finances. And I'll be honest, when I started investing, I was in so many different deals. However, I think what really made a difference was for me to focus on different buckets of income. And there's no right or wrong. I'll tell you what each one means. Say, for example, you have earned income. Earned income means that you have to trade time for money. A lot of people are saying, if I'm sick, I don't want to just focus on money that has to be earned. Sure, definitely. At the same time, I also have earned income. However, because I have passive income, I have the choice of how I want to spend my time. I'm happy to spend time here with you because that's what I love to do. And if you love to fix and flip, I actually see a lot of people watching HGTV. I hope it happens in half an hour and then you have a beautiful home. However, do it the right way. And every time I see a fix and flip, it's very satisfying. If that's you, perhaps you're willing to trade your time to fix and flip a project. Usually, what earned income means that you have to constantly look for new deals, one deal after another. And passive income, one of the simplest thing, or one of the things that people see when coming into real estate is basically your rent. After all the expenses are paid, you have income. So if you were here with Tim about 3 weeks ago, you learned about distressed property. Basically, revenue, deduct your expenses, what's left is your passive income and cash flow. Anybody who have already invested and not seen cash flow? No? This is a very unique group. I'll be honest, because I'm in the GTA, I've seen a lot of people getting into real estate, thinking that I'll just buy and hold and there will be cash flow. That's why a lot of people got into pre-construction condo. At the same time, expenses perhaps are not covered. If you're honest and if you just calculate the numbers, probably the rent doesn't even cover your mortgage. If you're paying cash, however, that's why a lot of people want to learn more about real estate when they stop seeing cash flow. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen a lot of cases too. Some strategies don't work anymore. And that's why you have to constantly look at your portfolio, look at what strategies you're focusing on. If you're looking for passive income, I love that. Actually, most people in the group today are looking for passive income. Then you're looking for strategies that's gonna provide you with monthly income. Or portfolio income. Portfolio income basically means that you are the bank. You're at the bank. You don't have to own everything. The bank doesn't have their name on the property you live in. However, they have control. If you do not pay your mortgage, who's going to take over? Who's going to say you have to buy insurance before you have money to close the property? So everybody wants to be the bank. Really, it's about control. And I do want to call out some of the alumni in the group right here who want to let me know what SMP means. And if it's not your first time, perhaps even Dave and Diane, you're new. However, you know what SMP means. Unmute yourself. Or somebody who want to help them out. Diane, you don't have to be shy.
Is it sales, marketing, property?
Strategy,
Strategy. Yeah.
market, property.
Strategy, market, property.
Okay.
Thank you, Naga, and thank you, Dave and Diane. I love that. That's actually one of the soft skills. So marketing, business planning, yes, strategy, market, property. Remember, always start from strategy first. And if you are following, you notice that we always talk about what your goals are. That little guy out there, that's you. That's what you're thinking. It doesn't matter what the property is. You go way back. You go way back to what your goals are, what you want to do. Then you look at different buckets of income. Then you look at what strategy you want to focus on. And if it doesn't work in a particular market, look for a different market. The strategy dominates where you go. It doesn't have to be in your backyard. It doesn't have to be in your backyard. Okay? So now we're going to get into private lending. I love this chart. Anybody could tell me the difference between the left side of the quadrant and the right side of the quadrant?
The left side, you're working for someone else. The right side, you're working for yourself.
Yes, and the money will work for you. And the money will work for you. A lot of people think that they own a business, they must be business owners. However, we're talking about a system. When you're not there, the business could still run. If you're buying a job, then you're self-employed. Namaka?
Yes, on the right side, people on the right side have leverage.
Yes. People on the right side have leverage.
There's a quote by Albert Einstein. He said, "Give me a lever long enough and a prop strong enough, and I'll lead the world."
Oh my God, I love that. Do you mind write it out in the chat?
Yes, I will.
Thank you for sharing. I love that. So hi, Julia. Hi, Kevin. I see that you're outside. I do appreciate that you have the camera on though, regardless. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing that quote. I love it. So perhaps next time, instead of putting down, we buy and sell to raise capital, I'm going to put your quote there. And I see that everybody is in different age groups and on my screen right here. For a lot of people, perhaps you don't have capital to make your money run for you yet. You buy and sell to create capital. So then you can buy and hold to create long-term wealth. And that's very true in private lending as well. If you do not have capital yet, you can leverage other people's capital. Actually, a lot of the people that I work with or make my private money work are flippers because I understand how it works. And they can create capital by buying and selling the property. At the same time, once you have the capital, you can work with people to create monthly income, for example. And thank you for all the participation. One more time, I would like you to participate and let me know what's stopping you from going a step further in your real estate journey. These are the things I've thought of, and perhaps it's not everything. However, at the same time, choose one that best speaks to your situation. Okay. I wasn't able to launch it. Damn. Oh. Sorry, technical issues. I see it. I'm not able to launch it.
Hey, Brooke, I have a question for you. What's the OPM and OPT and OPK?
Love that. So other people's money, other people's time, and other people's knowledge.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I can launch it now. I'm not the most tacky in the group. I do appreciate your patience. I love that when you're thinking. You're taking this so seriously. I love it. Okay, I'm just waiting for a couple more people. Naga, thank you for turning your camera back on again.
I was having my food.
No worries, even if it's your phone. Julia, thank you. You're always thinking about this. And May. And I see Ben. Ben, you just logged down. I appreciate it. Drive safely. Okay. Almost there. Can everybody see the shared results? Everybody's here to learn. Everybody's here to learn. And yes, get more resources. I love that. No, not a lot of people are stopped by fear. That's great. Yes, I think we're all ready to take action. Not a lot of people are stopped by fear, and not a lot of people are not taking action. That's not the reason why you're not going forward. Perfect. So once we're seasoned investor, educated investors, everybody is ready to take action. Take further action. Thank you for the nod. Truly appreciate it. And anybody have been said no by the bank? Rejected by the bank? Yes. If you haven't, I'm wondering if you're working hard enough to make your money work. It's okay to get rejected. It's okay to get rejected. We're talking about non-institutional lending today. Just because a major big bank said no, there are alternative lenders out there. There are also subprime or equity lenders. Anybody's working with a mortgage broker currently? Not yet? Okay. Okay, Jake, you are. So if you don't have a mortgage broker that you're working with, I'll be honest, I even work with more than one. Tough, thank you for the hand up. I'm even working with more than one mortgage brokers. It could be some focus on commercial, some have leads to private lending, or some could just help me scale my business. However, it doesn't have to be your limitation if the bank says no. There are also banks that perhaps you haven't heard of. I know in Canada, we have the major 5 banks. At the same time, there are also lenders, besides mortgages, they don't do anything else. They don't issue credit cards. They don't advertise as much. So perhaps you haven't heard of them. At the same time, just because you're not in their circle yet, doesn't mean the resources is not out there. So even if all these lenders, or even subprime lenders, there's equity bank, etc., or mono lender, mono just means they do one thing. They focus on mortgages, no credit card, nothing else. Even if they said no, we're going to focus on the private lenders, the hard money lenders, and even people who have RSP. They're looking for places to place them and make it work for them. Okay. Joint venture is actually slightly more advanced. So in our curriculum, we do focus joint venture as something more about people that you work with, more about the terms, the conditions, and also about how to structure it at the same time, and how to work with different people, how to make sure everybody comes out with a win. So it has to be a win-win-win before you decide to work with somebody. There's a lot of resources out there. It's never the limitation. So yes, there are institutional lending and provider out there. So for our curriculum, everything institutional is creative financing fundamentals. So the financial fundamentals are for people who are just using the institutions. A lot of the times, the debt service rate, so basically the interest rate is usually better with the primary lenders. However, write this down if you haven't. It's not about how much it costs. It's about how much it makes you. It's not about how much it costs. It's about how much it makes you. So even if it costs you 10%, 12%, to source money from private lenders, from hard money lenders. If you can make $1 million, why don't you share $500,000? So I will give you a couple of examples where you can see that if you leverage OPM, other people's money, the return is actually better when you're spreading the wealth. I love real estate. One of the reasons is it's so abundant. I only listed how many strategies out there, and there are so many different creative ways to structure a deal as well. And sometimes you're even putting different strategies all together in one deal at the same time. What is private lender, by the way? Anybody who's already a private lender? And I think eventually, once you're educated, I do encourage you to lend to projects that you can understand, that you can honestly do due diligence with. I can honestly tell you a lot of people get into it just because they love the person that they work with. That's one of the reasons. Or everybody's doing it. I don't want to miss out. And that's when a lot of the times you don't do your due diligence. And at the same time, we're here to remind you, we want to check your blind spot for you. And the short definition of what a private lender is, it's a loan that comes from non-institution individual lenders. So sometimes it could be a group of people. If you have heard of Mortgage Investment Corporation, it's still private. It's not institutional. It could be a group or it could be one person as well. Secured by real estate. So still private lending, even though you don't go through the bank. You can still go through your lawyer. It could still be secured by real estate. And here's the process. Any of you have gone through closing before? So basically, a lot of the times, it's pretty much the same thing. You find a deal, you locate a deal. That's very important. That's very important. We make money pretty much during the time you buy. Most of the time, not when you sell. Your purchase determines if it's a good deal or a bad deal. So locate a deal, do your due diligence, like I mentioned. That's why you do want to learn about different deals. And once you learn about different deals, you want to know how to source your funding, how to raise funds for your business. It's really a people's business. It's really a people's business. And money will always follow good deals. Money will always follow good deals. By the way, anybody's already looking for deals right now? Yes? Ted, where are you looking?
I'm looking in Oakville, Windsor, where I'm all over. I'm just looking for the deal. It doesn't really
Let's
matter
take a step back. What's your strategy?
Well, it changes depending on what I see out there, and so like mostly flips or buy and hold, or it all depends on what it is.
Okay. So one thing I would say is it might be easier if you know where your goals are, you can focus on the strategy.
Mhm.
Then it doesn't have to be a specific market. You can look through a lot of wholesalers are sending out deals. Are you looking on MLS, realtor.ca?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a little bit more difficult when it's retail.
Yes.
So I'll just put it out there. And at the same time, you look through the legal paperwork, and that's actually in the more advanced class at the same time. I mentioned joint venture is very contract heavy. At the same time, there's vendor take back, there are different strategies. Those are all private funds. You look through the legal work, the financial situation, it could be through a financial institution or it could be private. So number 5, being an ESL, it's not an easy word to pronounce. Basically, it just means that funds transfer from the financial institution to a lot of the time in your lawyer's trust account. Then you can just sit back and invest and see how your money could work for you. And at the same time, a lot of people are looking into refinance. I'll just put it out there for now. You'll learn the ins and outs and how to make it work in the more expensive class as well. Pretty much it's the same process, even if you're not going through private funds. So keep that in mind. Why do you think you want to be the bank, by the way? I do want to know. Jake, why do you think you want to be the bank? Perhaps you don't. I don't know. Why do you want to be the bank? Or that's an option.
Because then I could control the terms.
Yes,
Have
I love that.
control in the deal.
Yeah. And most importantly, you control your destiny. And this is one example I often use. I'm going to approach it in a different way. Just to go through the stats, you don't even have to run through the numbers. And if you have talked to a financial planner, or if you just want to Google what the 4% rule means, it basically means that you only need $40,000 when you retire to live on. So if you can get a return of 4%, invest with your financial planner. And if you know what the inflation rate is right now, think about it. I'm just going through the number with you, and you can decide what you want to do with your life. Basically means that if you work 40 years, 40 hours full-time, you can accumulate $1 million in saving. Live on 4% of that. That's $40,000. That's $40,000. However, is that enough? Are you really control your destiny? If you're looking at the numbers, the median income in Canada is $75,000. $75,000. And funny enough, even with that number, most people are living paycheck to paycheck. The next number, 90% of people spends over $1 for every dollar earned, basically means that they're living paycheck to paycheck. And that's $75,000 of average income. So really, is $40,000 enough for you to retire on? And on top of that, for a quarter of Canadian, if they have to come up with $500 of emergency funds, they're not able to cover that. They're not able to cover that. Remember when we mentioned earlier, if joint venture, if you share your wealth in a lease option deal, one deal, then you have $500 of passive income. That's one deal. If you focus on private lending, which we're going to talk about today, run the numbers, then you'll see how many deals you will need. You will need. I do encourage you to look at your spending. Anybody look at your spending so you can reach your financial freedom goal? Yes? Anybody cutting expenses? Perfect. So Jake, Dave, Naga, everybody's doing that. That's perfectly fine. And a tough, thank you. At the same time, how much can we cut? We still have to eat. We still have to have transportation. However, I do applaud you for having the flexibility. That's some skill, finding ways. I love that because that's the same thing we're doing when we're looking for a real estate deal. Find something for a great price and then sell it high, money in the buy, or look for something that you can force appreciate or renovate, then you can create force appreciation. At the same time, we can only cut so much. At the same time, how much can we earn? What's our earning potential? What's our earning potential? How much can we cut? How much can we earn? So think about this. There's a limitation as to how much we can cut. There's really no limitation as to how much you want to earn. So I don't think I need to ask you questions. The numbers will speak for itself. At the same time, yes, you can have earned income. When we talk about wealth, creating real wealth is really about net worth. So the median net worth in Canada is about 330. So that's a third of the way toward your $1 million goal, if that's a path you want to follow. And if we look at how much each deal is going to bring us, there's so many different strategies. We've talked about cash flow for lease option. We've talked about private lending today. There's also seminars on distressed properties, wholesale assignment, or service accommodation. This is just a guideline. At the same time, these numbers changes as the market fluctuate at the same time, or it depends on what market you're in. And you see the lease option range is kind of pretty wide, 500 to 1,200. Really depends on the size of the deal. At the same time, use this as a guideline to help you plan. So this is how much on average. And Ted, you're in GTA. Are you single?
Nope. No.
Okay. So if it's a family of 4, that's a number you're looking at. Jake, where are you located?
Ottawa.
Ottawa. Okay. So if there's more than you in the family, around $5,000. Is that about right?
Yeah.
And Chris, where are you located?
I'm up in Muskoka.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. Then I don't know how much you're spending. It must be crazy with all the
live out in the
cottages
boonies.
around. Sorry, I missed that?
I said I live out in the boonies. I don't even have neighbors.
That's the life. That's the life. And Julia, where are you located?
Toronto.
Oh, okay, in Toronto. Okay, so if it's just you, $3,000, and if you're like John, like Kevin, in the big cities, let's aim for $6,000. By the way, this is just average household spending. We're not talking about anything extra. So if you're looking at the numbers, lease option, let's focus on the 3-2-1. We mentioned that you should major in 3 things, 3 strategies. I understand that your time is precious. What if just focus on 1 deal every 2 months? Every 2 months, work on 1 deal. So this is your 1-year plan. If you can focus on 2 lease options, so 3 strategies, and this is random example. It could be something different for you. I'm focusing on something that's more towards cash flow. There's no fix and flip there, nothing wrong. And in this group, everybody wants to create cash flow according to the survey. If you can focus on 3 strategies, every 2 months, you work on 1 deal. So in a year, you have 6 deals in the pipeline. We mentioned that if you can qualify for 2 lease option deals, $2,000 a month. Income property. If you want to start small, a 2-unit, perhaps, $150 per unit in terms of cash flow. If you're working on private lending, if you have some capital saved up, remember, you buy and sell to create capital. If you have some capital right now and your money is working for you, $1,000 per deal, 2 deals a year. So 3 strategies, every 2 months, 1 deal, 3-2-1. You're able to reach your cash flow goal of $4,200. That's enough for you as a single person to live anywhere in Toronto or anywhere in Canada or Quebec City and Halifax. You can tell that the more people live under the household, you're more efficient because it's under 1 roof, 1 mortgage. So I do want you to focus on, hey, what am I gonna focus on? If you're like me, you have some life experience and you have a little bit of capital to start. Or if you want to focus on fix and flip to create capital and then to have capital to create long-term wealth, to buy and hold, it's totally up to you. At the same time, I do encourage you to honestly look at your financial statement. Look at where you are. This might be a strategy for you. You can look at it as somebody who's using the fund or be the bank. So I do focus on being the bank today. At the same time, look at it as the person, the user of the fund, because we're all managing debt. Really, financial education, money as debt. You're basically focusing on how to manage debt to make it good debt. So why I focus on real estate? Reason being, I want it to be secured by hard asset. Personally, I'm not a risk taker. I don't invest in anything that's speculative. There's passive equity income. And in the events class, we're going to talk about one thing you can evaluate the risk or do your due diligence is to see how much equity is in it. Meaning that the loan to value, perhaps 50% is leveraged. Then there's still some room to leverage as well. Cost of borrowing by the borrower. And Even as a lender, I do look at, is it too much for the borrower? Is the borrower going to afford it? Going to be able to afford it? Does the project support the kind of return I'm looking for? So yes, it is higher ROI compared to GIC or your mutual funds that we've talked about. If the aim is a 4% rule, while the inflation is 6 or 7%. So look at what buckets you're focusing on. If you're the type of person focusing on passive income for the private lending, then perhaps your requirement is monthly interest payments. If you're working with somebody who's fixed and flipping the project, you don't need the money right away. You can focus on getting a lump sum at the end of the term. As a borrower, imagine you're the person flipping the property. If you haven't sold and somebody is requesting monthly payment, it's a little more stressful for you. So perhaps you will go with the lender who's willing to take a lump sum at the end. So really look at what your goals are. Whether you're the lender or the borrower, do your goals align? Really, you're the bank. It's a portfolio you're talking about, and you're looking at how much passive income you can generate. It is really, really flexible. You can decide if you're gonna do a credit check, or it could be an open mortgage. Open mortgage meaning that you can pay me back anytime when the project is done, or it could be a fixed term. I'll give you one example as to when I will want fixed term, when I'm open to open terms. For example, I mentioned that we're building a home. I know that I will need my capital back by the time we're ready to close. So I would budget my money to work for me depending on the timeline, for example. And at the same time, when I offer open mortgage is when I want to make sure the project can complete with not a lot of stress for the borrower. And if it's open, I'm totally open to that if I can get monthly interest income anyways. So really, I kept talking about this. Different examples, same thing. Focus on your goal. What's a win-win for everybody? And you can decide if you want to charge a lender fee. What's the percentage? Be reasonable. Don't be greedy. So make sure it makes sense. I put a credit check as a question mark. I'll tell you why. Because one of the reasons people go for private lending is, as investors, we get on a lot of debt. Sometimes our credit scores are hurt. So if I understand the situation, even if I don't have a perfect credit score, I might be able to still find resources available to me. So don't need a credit check. I look at their resume, what they have done in the past. Can they successfully complete the project? At the same time, you can definitely ask for a credit check. It's still something that could be used as a way to do your due diligence. So I put a question mark there. Again, it's really flexible. It's up to you. Private lenders may work with people with different credit scores, may work with different type of houses. I've done lending to people who needed the money to close. At the same time, they need additional funds to complete the project. If you understand what loan to value means that if you purchase a property, say for $100,000, are you willing to lend $100,000? Or you want there to be some room? So it's really up to you. In some projects, if I can understand there, after repair, after force appreciates, there's going to be increase in value in the property, then I'm willing to work with different lenders. And like I mentioned, I actually look at their portfolio to see if they can successfully complete the project. Another thing, if you're the borrower, one day, when you don't have the resume yet, you might be required to pay a little bit more interest, which makes sense. And for me, I'm willing to share the wealth for people who trusted me to start the project. That's why it's very, very flexible. It's very flexible. And you can tell from the examples I'm giving you, it's really about people. It's really about people and how you work with different people too. It could be people who had debt, bad credits, because their money is working so hard for them. I like things in 3. If you have pen and paper, write this down. 3 rules of private lending. Return on investment. Return on investment. Return on investment basically equal to how much in, how much out. Return on investment. How much I put in, how much I get out. That's your return. How long the project is going to be, and the security. What is the security? Or in other words, what is the collateral? What is it secured against? So this, I call it the 3 pillars of private lending. So just to give you an example, and if you're great at math, so May, I think even for your kid, you can calculate the numbers. So if you earn interest at $1,000 per month, that's how much you're getting per year. Simple math, $1,000. And it depends on how much you put in. If you put in 100,000, I love 100,000. Can anybody give me the return? If you put in 100,000, simple math, you're getting 12,000 back. What is your return on investment? How much in, how much out? Mohammed.
10%.
So $1,000.
No, sorry, yeah, 5%.
So $1,000 per month. Yeah. So how much in, how much out? That is your return. That is your return. Let's see if we can find a better way to increase your return on investment. Like I mentioned, when you have a great deal, money will chase you. And it's not a limitation. What if you only have $50,000? You have a great deal. You only have $50,000. What are you going to do? Mohammed, if I have a great deal, I only have 50,000, would you be willing to lend me the 50,000?
Yes.
I appreciate that. Appreciate the trust. If you only have 50,000, even if you're not willing to lend it to me, anybody have line of credit? Okay, Jake, Dave, Diane, Chris, Julia, you too. Okay. So what if I borrow at 6% of interest? That means that I do have to pay the interest back. Oh, I'm giving it away. I was going to ask you to calculate this. Now you have to pay an interest of $3,000. Now your return is $9,000. So what is your return on investment? Remember, it's how much in and how much out. That is your ROI. 9,000 divided by how much you put in? 50,000. What is your ROI?
18%.
18%.
18. Yeah, 50,000 in.
Thank you. So when you share the wealth and when you leverage, so take OPM, other people's money. It could be other investor. It could be the bank who offer you the line of credit. So there you go. So it's how much in and how much out. In terms of investment, why is it important to see how long it is? We talked about retirement. A 40-year savings plan. And remember that our goal here is to help you reach your financial independence goal in 2 to 4 years. It's not about getting rich the next day or getting rich quick. You still have to put in the time. However, it's a lot more efficient. It's a lot more efficient. So I'm using 100,000 again. If your return on investment is $5,000, there's something called a lender fee. So we'll talk further about this when we get into the advanced class. What it means that you ask the lender, or if you're borrowing money, there's something called a lender fee that goes towards the lender. Doesn't matter how long the project is. It's usually a fixed percentage. Usually a fixed percentage. Assuming that it's just a 6-month project. It's a 6-month project. So actually, you know what? I'll go through the numbers with you. You can do the other one. And let's assume the other project, same thing. However, this project is now a year. It's taking a year. Same return when you end the project. It's both $5,000. So I do want you to see the difference. So for example, you're the bank and you're taking a 1% lender fee. Remember, this is about being the bank. 5,000 is your return. 5,000 is your return. And this is a 1-year project. When we talk about return on investment, we're usually using the interest rate for a year. So I just want to put it out there. $6,000 is now your return. And how you analyze things is that you can divide it by 12 months and then times what year is 12 months. On the other hand, it's a 6-month project. So it's half a year. So again, it's 5,000 plus 1,000 lender fee. Does anybody want to give it a shot now to calculate the return on investment? It's only taking half of the time now. It's only taking half of the time now for you to get your money back. Naga.
Should be double, close to double. I was just doing the math. Yeah,
Yes.
because it's half the time. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why it's important to see how long the fund is required for. How long the fund is required for. Because you want to make your money work harder for you, run a little bit faster. And I do want to mention that use this chart once you're focusing on different strategies. Personally, I actually focus on short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. Besides the 3 different buckets that you're looking at, what is your short-term goal? What's your mid-term goal? What is your long-term goal? So we mentioned that, yes, you will be buying and selling to create capital. So you can have something long-term. Usually it's income property. I call it cash flowing income property. Like any business, you have to have cash flow. You're not going to support your business if none of your property is making money. And I use some abbreviation here. I just want you to write it down if you're not familiar with the terms yet. Midterm lease option. Lease option, also known as rent to own. It's usually 2 to 4 years. It's midterm. It sounds like long term. Once you get into it, personally, I felt the same. 2 to 4 years pass by really quickly. So that's your midterm strategy. And service accommodation too. Service accommodation, it's up to you. It could be a short-term strategy. It could be midterm. Could be a long-term strategy. Fix and flip. Usually fix and flip. Once the project is done, you're selling the property. And like the number I'm using, you want it to be short-term, so your return is higher. You want to do it efficiently. And there's nothing wrong with going into different strategies. If you're looking to accumulate capital quickly, wholesale is another way of accumulating capital quickly. Anybody knows what wholesale means? It doesn't have to be real estate related. Naga.
Getting a property under contract and selling it to someone else, like an investor, at a arbitrage price.
Yeah. So basically, you're buying at a lower price and then selling it so you can flip it to somebody else. It's basically paper flipping. So it could be done very quickly. It's a short-term strategy, and I've seen a lot of people run with it too. So again, it depends on where you are, what strategies you want to focus on, or what makes sense to you. Okay, Ken, thank you for having the camera on. I see you might be on your phone. I appreciate it, regardless. And understand different strategies. I'll tell you something that I've experienced. I actually renovated a property. I wanted to be long-term hold. It ended up to be a flip. So you're always pivoting as an investor. Because I realize now I have more tools in my toolbox. I want my money to work for me. So I want my funds to be placed elsewhere where I can see better return. And at the same time, I realized that this is a property I had to put in a lot of effort to manage. It's a smaller multi-income property. So I took the money out. And it was shorter than 2 to 4 years because you do want to have different exit strategies in case something happens, in case something different that you're focusing on now. So for example, we found the house that we wanted to buy. So all of a sudden we have to come up with capital quickly. I have to kill a few golden geese And then you have to decide what you want to do, even though some properties are long-term hold. Again, if you have different strategies or know how to exercise different strategy, I look at it as also that's your security too. You're not just stuck with one strategy when something changes. Again, I want to put it out there. Really, you want to do your due diligence and you want to be the person that could plan things. At the same time, I do think that trust is a foundation. Trust is a foundation. And if the number works really well, if it looks great on paper, if you don't trust the person that you're working with to carry it through, are you really going to get into the deal? We know, like, and trust. We first know the people. We decide that we know we like them. That's when you do your due diligence. Is it somebody I can trust? And like I said, a lot of things that we're using or a lot of parameters we're looking at, you could probably use at work or hiring people. This is actually about HR, human resources. At the same time, that's how I look at building my power team. That's how I look at building my power team. I must have somebody that I trust. Even if this person is not very efficient, I'm willing to work with people who want to work hard on the power team with me. Of course, you want to work with people who are highly efficient and you can trust them, that you highly trust this person. At the same time, I found that even if they started slow, once they're open to learning, once they have the support, one day and almost all the time, they could be highly efficient someday. Working with somebody you trust, you don't have to constantly question if your due diligence is enough. So just imagine how much time you have to devote into that. I do believe that trust is so important. It could be a community. I do want to have high efficiency. I found one of the things to make you more efficient is the willingness to learn. OPM, other people's money. OPK, other people's knowledge. OPT, other people's time. You don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to do everything yourself. Even if it's work, and definitely it is the case when it comes to money. If people are in the same community as you, somebody who has also OPK, other people's knowledge behind them. Have you worked with a realtor who said we have collectively 80 years of experience? So really, that means that we're in a community. And would you be willing to work with somebody who's by themselves, who doesn't have OPK or a power team or somebody else's knowledge behind them? So everybody you see here, perhaps one day will be your community at the same time. I highly encourage you to work with people who have the same mindset. And even though everything is secured by hard asset, basically the definition of hard money doesn't mean that money is hard, meaning that it's against hard assets. So private loan from individuals, it could be a promissory note. It could be a very, very simple contract. By the way, why is trust so important? If you have a 2-page contract, if you have a 100-page contract, a lot of the times it's really hard to enforce it. So it's good that you have a solid contract. It is important. At the same time, how are you going to have the correct terms to secure your money? So it could be secured by property. However, a lot of the times, people may not register on title. In a lot of promissory notes, I do highly encourage you to register on title. It's going to be an expense to the borrower. However, in the environment today, I've seen a lot of things going south. And I think it's just human nature. If you have several loans to pay back, some are, say, the bank, you're enforced to pay it back, or you're going to lose your house. Or somebody, or the bank of love, your mom and dad, who are you going to pay first when you're in a crunch? So in today's environment, you have the option. I do encourage you to take that option, to exercise that option. John.
Hey, Brooke, if this is more of like a short-term loan, say like a bridge loan or someone just needs money for 6 months to a year, do you still recommend going on title? Like, is it worth all of that time and effort, do you think, just generally speaking?
In terms of security,
Yeah.
and I think there are more deals going south these days because not everybody knows how to mitigate the interest rate increase. If it's somebody you highly trust, I do see why it doesn't make sense to register on title. I do see why that's the case. If somebody you trust, John, you've had past history with this person, then yes. Mohammed. Mohammed?
Okay, question is, if you borrow money from a lender that they're willing to give you the money, and then you put in the clause that you want to become their partner, you put their name as holder of the property until you pay everything back, and during the time, whatever time might be. Will that be acceptable, or have you heard anything like this?
Actually, even when John mentioned 6 months, even at 6 months, I registered on title. One of the things you can do, because if you don't register on title, you usually require a higher interest because of the risk. During this time, I'm actually willing to accept a slightly lower interest to compensate them for the cost if I insisted on registering with a lawyer. So 15, 18% versus 12%, for example, or 10%. So really it's case by case. If you really trust this person, you know that they can pay back.
No. If I'm buying a property and I want to borrow money from the company that they're, lenders, second lenders, not a bank.
Mm-hmm.
Company that and then can you put that in their name, the property in you and their name, and then whenever you have the money, then pay them off, get them off your back?
It really has to be contract, put in the contract. You have to have a really good contract. You have to have a really good contract.
Have you heard something like this or not?
It sounds a little complicated. I don't know if I would do that. It depends on the situation. It depends where you are. Every time you do a land transfer tax, depending on the project, it could mean making a profit or having a loss on the property, on the deal. I've heard people, this is not ethical. That just reminds me, people who put in second or third because they want to buy out the first or the second. They know they might default, and they are in the position to buy out the other other parties may not have the resources to do so. So it depends. It depends what you want to do. However, Mohammed, from what you told me, it sounds more complicated than it needs to be. It doesn't matter who's on contract. You just need an option to purchase. It could be first right of refusal, or it could be agreement for sale, meaning they have to sell it to you, or you just want to have the option to buy instead of putting everybody on title. Yeah. So remember, this is about control. You don't have to be on title for everything to have control, like the bank. They're not on title for everything. So you just have to have a contract that makes sense.
Right. Thank you.
No problem. So we mentioned collateral. Yes, there are times where the purchase price is 100% financed by private lending because you're depending on the project to be for a forced appreciation project in a lot of cases. Or if they have money in the buy, if they buy it cheap, and then there's the upside to it. So collateral is one security. If somebody only has, say, 10% of the loans against the property, 90% is paid off. That's one way of looking at the security. At the same time, you're more experienced investor now. So it really depends. On the situation. Always remember the 3 rules of lending. This is a quick way for you to look at the return. and to look at, does it fit my goal? Is the security something, say for example, if the project doesn't make sense, in a lot of cases, I'm willing to take over the property because I can force appreciate, I can turn it into a service accommodation. So security basically means that it makes sense to you. For somebody else to take that security, they don't know what to do with it, then the security doesn't mean anything. It's not secure. We mentioned promissory note. It could be very, very simple. This is all that's in there. This is all that's in there. The only thing is, how do you want to deal with the collateral? You could say that we will register on title, or a lot of the times to save on expenses, it's usually stated in there that if the borrower defaults, you have the right to be on title and go after them. However, the process takes time. So same thing in the promissory note. What's your return? How much in, how much out? When does it mature? Who are the parties involved? So if you look at what your collaterals are, the parties involved, the lender fee, the interest rate determines your return on investment. How long? So the repayment in this case is 1 year. Maturity date basically tells you how long it will be. Again, we love it because it's so flexible. So it can make sense to you, even when it doesn't make sense to the bank. You could have appraisal. At the same time, you can decide on having an appraisal required too. Really, it's up to you. A lot of the times, like I mentioned in today's market, a lot of people are asking for appraisals. There are also appraisers not only work for the bank, for the purpose of private lending as well. However, if you're working with the bank, they always ask you to use specific appraiser that they work with. Even if you spend the money to complete the appraiser yourself, it might not be acceptable. That's what's different between private and institutional. This is an actual example, nothing different from the example I gave you earlier. How much in, how much out, how long, the terms, the collateral, who are the parties involved. It could be as simple as this. I just screenshot a promissory note. And let's go through one example. Sometimes when we go through private lending, I get that it's a beginner seminar. So I'll keep the numbers simple. Even if you just want to go through the thought process with me, definitely do that. Before I get started, I think I went a little bit too fast. Who has $70,000 ready to invest? Dave and Diane and John. For those of you who don't, Julia, I think you're wondering, we'll tell you how to find money. At the same time, guys, if it's a great deal, even if you don't have $70,000, if you learn how to structure a deal, how to find a deal like this, if you see the property looking like that in the picture, the upper house out there, what do you see? Namika, you're a very positive person. What do you see from the picture I put out there? Oh, yeah, you're muted now.
I see money, a great opportunity.
Yes, you see money. I love it. You see money, you see problem. We love problems because we're problem solvers, and that's where we see opportunities and see money. Thank you. Let's assume this property is $200,000. The renovation cost is $70,000. I want everybody to make money, so I'm wondering who have $70,000 to help Namika to complete the deal. Who has $25,000? Okay, Jake has $25,000. The reason I'm asking, and Dave and Diane, of course you have 70. If you have 95, take the whole deal. The reason being, actually my very first lending deal was landscaping, and it was $25,000. And of course I invested in myself first. So I had the education, I understand how it worked. At the same time, they just needed $25,000 to complete the landscaping. And to renovate is $70,000. And because of the condition the house is in right now, do you think the bank would give you a mortgage on a property like this? No. Let's go a step back. Do you think the house is insurable? No. If it's not insurable, the bank wants their money to be insured. If it's not insurable, they're not going to give you a mortgage on it. So if you have the ability to source $200,000, that's all you need to get into the deal. Who is an experienced or handy in the group? Dave and Diane. I assume this deal is yours, that you found this deal. Let's assume you can fix the property in 4 months. And after ARV, I use some abbreviation because now as investors, you're going to start to get used to the terms. After repair value. So after repair, the property will be valued at $435,000 in 4 months. Because Dave and Diane are seasoned investors and they built an amazing power team. And even if you don't have some power team member, reach out to the community, people who have already done it. So you were able to build the house and renovate the house in 4 months. If we can sell it at $435,000, what's your profit? You put in $295,000. After you repair, you can sell it at $435,000. Simple math. I'm gonna give people who haven't been voluntold a chance. Chris, what's your profit? You can sell it after repair at $435,000, and you put in $295,000. How much can you take out? Or somebody wants to help Chris along the way? I actually gave it away. Naga, help your fellow classmate out.
It's the
40,000.
difference between the money in to, I mean, the ARV, the sale price minus the money in, the total
Thank
money
you.
in.
Yes.
140.
140.
Thank you. Thank you both for helping out. And thank you, Chris. So the proceeds is $140,000. So what if Dave and Diane doesn't have the $70,000 for renovation and doesn't have the $25,000 for landscaping at 12%? How much is their debt servicing? Meaning if they borrow the money from somebody at 12%, how much is it going to cost them? How much is it going to cost?
3,800.
Yes. Thank you. Julia, this is how we come up with it. Because at 12%, the $70,000 will cost them $700. And then the $25,000, so Julia, you have the $25,000. So they borrow $25,000 from you, and you're making $250 per month. Times 4 months. Times 4 months. So even though their profit is reduced, again, it's not how much it costs you. Because of your help, Julia, because of you, because of Namaka, Dave and Diane were able to complete the project. So Dave and Diane, even though you have to borrow money at 12%, are you willing to borrow the money and complete the project? Yes. And Julia, are you willing to make $250 per month of cash flow? You're not doing anything. You just understand how flip works. Yes, love that.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my camera is bad, so that's the reason why you cannot see me.
No worries.
All right, so my question is, last year, so I was trying to do a fix and flip. I found like a private lender that was ready to borrow me like 80% down, like 80% out of the
Okay.
money.
Oh, good.
But like I had issue like finding the remaining 20%. So like due to you, like what you've been teaching us in the since, so you're like, so if assuming I could find a private lender, like would the deal have been possible for me to do? Because some private lender that I spoke to, so they were like, how much do you have? How much of your own money do you have? Like they are not ready to borrow me money if I don't have any of my money.
Okay, only borrow money when you can make money. So
Yeah.
that's good debt. Are you able to make money borrowing the 80%, servicing the debt, or sharing your wealth?
Yeah, but like the 20%, I was unable to find the 20% because I was told that if I don't have my own money, like they cannot give me all the 20%. Because
I
like they
get
don't
that.
have anything to rest on, like as to use as a security, just in case maybe if I default, or maybe
Mhm.
if the property like didn't sell for the price that I told them it's gonna sell for.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for example, if you need 50,000 as the 20%, are you able to find that? I don't know how much your property is. I'm just asking. If you have to find $50,000, are you able to find it?
You mean like borrowing or all from myself?
You have to find the money. I get why your investor is saying that, because they want you to have skin in the game. Not every lender is the same. I understand that's what your lender is asking.
Yeah, well, I couldn't find it.
Okay. Have you reached out to the credit card company, see if you can do this? So, by the way, this is step by step. You might be telling me my credit score is not good now. So one of the things we did in class is teach you how to improve your credit score first, or teach you to reduce your debt. I'm giving you an example of 50,000, for example, to put in the deal so you have skin in the game. Same thing, Julia is looking for $25,000 because she wants to make $250 per month. So Atav, if you're willing to reach out to these two credit card companies, these are just out there right now. There are other resources out there. I think CIBC also has one called Select. I don't encourage people to borrow money or don't know how it works to go for it. And that's why our strategy coaches are there. That's why I'm teaching this in the class. So say, for example, you borrow 25,000 from BMO. You borrow 25,000 from MBNA. You constantly will look for deals or constantly look for resources. These are credit card deals. At the same time, you're looking for a real estate deal. If you need $50,000, can you reach out to both of these credit card companies and give you a $25,000 credit limit?
Yeah, maybe for some other people it could be possible, but for me, like I don't have a PR, so like most of them, like I tried that time too. They said I don't have a PR, so like they cannot give me. So
Okay.
they're all scared, like I'll run back to my country with their money.
Okay. That's one thing. If you have social insurance number, some credit card companies will give you some. You have to build some credit. At the same time, remember we talked about you buy and sell to accumulate capital. Even if you just put something under contract, flip paper, wholesale deal, we give you roughly, say, $5,000 per deal. Atov, if you come to me and said, I'm an immigrant, I'm young, I have no money, I did this one deal, I have $5,000, I'm willing to put the $5,000 in this deal. Even though that $5,000 may not be 20% loan to value, that is what I have, and that's what I worked hard for. That's what I'm educated to do. If I'm willing to put in all my money, would you be willing to do that? By the way, Atov, $50,000 to say Elon Musk or somebody else versus somebody who works so hard to accumulate that $50,000, you know who has skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know who has skin in the game and who's going to work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you don't have credits right now, I encourage you to look at your strategy. By the way, that sounds like a really good deal. Even if your investor is not willing to put down the 80% loan to value, you can flip that paper and sell it to somebody else. You run the number. Can I quickly ask you, what's your return on investment on that? Or what's the cash flow you could generate from that deal?
Actually, like it was last year, so I cannot even remember everything anymore. Like
Give me a rough number.
I can quickly check my system. Just give me a second.
Okay, I'm not putting you on the spot. If you're able to generate, say, $500 per month, and if it's a property, say, 350,000 or so, anybody would be willing to take his deal. Is anybody willing to take that deal? If it, I don't know the strategy. I assume it's a long-term hold. Would anybody be willing to take that deal? Okay, Jake is willing to. It might not fit everybody's goal. However, even in the group of 33 people, I know some people are not having their camera on. Just from what I see on screen, somebody's willing to take that deal. Even if it's $3,000 a tough or $10,000, the better the deal, the better your wholesale fees you would get. I'm just giving you an example. You don't have to look for the numbers. I want you to see the opportunities. I want you to see the opportunities. Tough, if you can find 2 deals like that, if on average it's $10,000 per wholesale deal, you're getting $20,000. You're getting $20,000. And if you can do that, I mentioned 3, 2, 1, 6 deals, $60,000. Do you have 20% towards a property?
Yeah.
There you go. So really, it's about the opportunity. I'm putting the credit cards out there because a lot of people's perception about credit card is it's bad debt. It's really how you manage it. These 2 out there happen to be what's available to you right now. What's available to you right now. So if you need something, if you need $25,000 from Julia, and Dave and Diane, if you happen to have a couple credit cards like this, $50,000. If it's 0% interest rate, and a lot of the time they have 0.99% of transfer fee, 1% of transfer fee. What is the inflation rate today? What is the inflation rate today? Give me a rough number.
4.4 last time.
6,
Yeah.
almost 6.
Yeah, so I have 4, I have 6. Really, somebody is offering you money, and even at a 1% transfer fee, wouldn't you be willing to take that? So I do encourage you to look into these examples. And I know some people are shy away from it because of the 1% fee. It's really not about how much it costs you, it's how much it makes you. If I can make 12%, even if they're charging me 6%, oh, by no means, I'm definitely going for it. And again, it's not your JOB. It's not the money you pay your time for. And that's how you run with your money. So let's use a different example. Let's use an example where the initial investment is $86,000 and your total profit is $109,000. It's $109,000. Can somebody calculate the ROI for me? So it's 109 divided by how much money in? 86,500 and divided by 3 years.
Okay, no, I need that. No.
That's okay. Go ahead. Dave.
Hey, I was thinking it was like 22,500 per year. Times it by 3, I guess.
Divided by 3, yeah.
Divided by 3.
Yeah. So because it's annualized
Gotcha. Yes,
for 3
that's right.
years.
You're right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So you're on the right track. So it's 42% per year. What if we use, I mentioned it to a tough, and I hope you're thinking the same thing too. What if you can borrow $20,000 just using balance transfer? You're not going to pay interest for a year or 9 months. Yeah, I'm looking at the example I'm giving here. So it's 12 months with 0% interest. You just have to pay the 1% transfer fee. $20,000, 1%, quick math, $200. So right now, remember, return on investment is how much in, how much out. really that $20,000 doesn't have to come out of your pocket now. So 86,500 minus the 20,000, because that's not out of your pocket now. You do have to put in the $200 of transfer fee. So this is your initial investment now. This is your initial investment now. How much in, how much out? Remember what your profit is. Your profit is 109. So now you only need to put in 66,700, divide that by 3. Divide that by 3. That's your return on investment. That's your return on investment. Any questions? Any questions? Good. By show of hand, now you do want to get that balance transfer credit card if you haven't. Richard, do you have a question, Richard?
Yes, I do. So this math looks, awesome. It speaks for itself. Taking balance transfer money and lend it out. My question is, in case the borrower defaults, you have to foreclose on the property, and the property is going to take around a year to foreclose. So I wonder how, well, first of all, I want to say that almost described my situation. Secondly, I want to know how you would factor that cost into your overall calculation.
I do this. I don't know if everybody does that. I constantly look for these deals. So what matures, probably a month or two before, I already have another one that replaces it.
Can I say something, Brooke?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes what you can do, Richard, as well, this is why we have multiple credit cards, because it provides us options and opportunities for these balance transfers that are available when the time is needed. But even if you don't have a balance transfer available, this is why a network of people around you who are thinking exactly like you understands what's going on. You can always borrow money. But let's say if you don't have that either, you could use a line of credit. But sometimes there's another kicker on it too, because sometimes you might go back to the credit card company and say, hey, just wondering if you can give me an extension, and they say, oh, I can't give you an extension. They may even offer you another balance transfer, but the condition is you just have to pay back the original one first, and then you could take a balance transfer back out. So let's say if it was Mohammed and Mohammed gives me the whatever $20,000, I pay that credit card company back, and they're like, oh, here's a balance transfer again, and take that balance transfer back out and then give it back to Mohammed, and maybe give him a little side gift as well. And it's like, hey, here's for doing me a favor. So you have options on the table, but you got to be prepared for those things. And this is why having people around you that know you, that like you, that think like you is going to be key, but also the tools that you have in your tool belt.
And that's a good point. So always have backup, right? So that's your exit strategy. Your backup is one of your strategy. And yes, ask, even for mortgages, I've heard cases where you have bad tenant or something happens. You ask for an extension. So you don't know if you never ask. So personally, like I mentioned, I always have something as a backup. And if there's a line of credit offer to increase my limit, I always do that. So in case something like that happens, yes, replace the funds. The replacement could be another credit card, could be extension to the 0 interest period. It could be something else, could be a different credit card. So yes, always have a backup plan. It always could be something different too. And by the way, the second part, it would be a long answer. So legal questions, we have to review what's in your contract. What can you do?
Thank you. This is very helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for jumping on.
Yeah. We just a quick share. We lent out 50K using balance transfer 3 months ago, and then the borrower has been paying on time, except for 4 days ago when he just suddenly disappeared from the face of the earth, and I couldn't sleep for the past week. And then yesterday was the due date, and then he suddenly showed up. He said, "Hey, I'm transferring the money." I said, "Oh, okay." But yeah, that almost describes our situation.
Almost. I know. Somebody you trust, somebody you can get a hold of. Yeah. Another thing is, before it's due, say even a month ahead of time. Make sure you follow up with the person. Sometimes life happens, right? I get that. So sometimes I will follow up to say, hey, it's going to mature in 2 weeks, in a month. That definitely helps.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Julia, you have a question?
Yes. So what's like a common way to find borrowers? Like based on your experience, I know there's so many ways to find people, but based on your experience, what's been the common borrowers?
I think because we're all in the same community, we're borrowers and sometimes we're lenders. There's always people looking for opportunities. And I get that when you're not focusing on that, it's like cars driving by, a red car driving by, you will never notice it. When you're looking, when you're in the community, the opportunities will be there. And one thing I mentioned is, yes, always on the lookout for money. It could be credit card, it could be other people's money, it could be the bank, it could be somebody else. And we do have a class called Raising Funds, by the way. And Raising Fund is really mainly, I'm just giving you a heads up, it's about communication. It's really about communication. Julia, you might have a great deal. I like you so much, I want to do the deal with you. If it's somebody else I might not like so much, even if it's the same deal, I might not go in. I might choose you versus the other person. I know it doesn't sound like a solid answer. As a matter of fact, that's the way it is. If you're in the community, when there's opportunity, when the deal is good, money will chase it. At the same time, you have to let yourself out there. You have to communicate. And once you have something on your resume, let it speak to yourself at the same time. And John, what's your experience? I know you're already investing in the community. What's your experience and advice to give to Julia?
Honestly, I think, first of all, it's about building your presence in general and your profile or persona, so people just even know who you are. For example, I've been part of TYT since August, and I think I've been actively attending sessions and going to workshops and live connects and things like that. And I'm at that point now where I do have other members of the community approaching me saying, hey, we have an interesting deal. Part of that, though, is because I have been out there also saying like, hey, we've got some funds to invest, or here's kind of what we're looking for, or here's the kind of strategies that we're exploring as well. So honestly, I think a lot of it is putting yourself out there. It takes a bit of discomfort to do that, particularly those people that aren't more naturally inclined to do that. But you're essentially running your own business, and I think that's an important way to look at this. Is you're never going to have customers or clients to your business if nobody knows about you, right? So that's my biggest part of advice.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for the question. And I'm going to get into RSP section. This is a topic I do want people to make sure you do it legally and do it right. The whole point here is to show you that, yes, there are other ways. There are other funds out there available. A lot of people think RSP is only for mutual funds. However, there are ways to invest in real estate and be the bank using your RSP. And if it's TFSA account in Canada, tax-free savings account, you don't have as much limitation. You can basically use that as down payment. So when we talk about registered funds, we sometimes say RSP. It does include RESP, so registered education. If you have kids, savings account. So for your kids, the good thing about it is the government do put in subsidies as well. This is really about making your money run. Make your money run. One of the most important thing to notice is that RSP is not supposed to be for somebody who's close to you. So while we call an arm's length test, is that somebody who has distant from you, not your wife, not your kids, not your mother, not somebody who's directly related to you. So you have to pass that test. When in doubt, don't do it. As simple as that. Again, excuse me. It's really about controlling your money. So one of the things about RSP is that, again, it's deferred. It doesn't mean that you don't pay tax in the future. I do want to mention that. However, we talked about time. When you have money in hand and control and invest today, it's always better than in the future. So if you're able to contribute to RSP, in this example, I just randomly put in a number. Say because you put in RSP, you have $11,000 of refund, if that's the case. And at 10% of return annually, your RSP example, for example, you put in $25,000 in RSP per year. If you're able to put an additional contribution, so 11,000 because you have the refund, your money is running faster for you. So you can see that in the second year, because of the 11,000 you have in refund, you're getting 3,600 versus 2,500. I'm just giving you a random example in simple numbers to show you that how you can make your money run a little bit faster for you. So this is not even about using RSP as a mortgage, just the fact that you have additional funds to invest today versus tomorrow. And I do want to mention something different about RSP is that because it's registered funds, and if you have already done it, in Canada, there's just one, if not, I don't even know if we can count 2 or 3 institutions that could work as trustee. Usually when you go through, anybody closed properties recently or have closed properties, usually what's different is that you can deal directly with the lawyer. If you have RSP funds, you have to go through trustees. The point is to make sure everything we talked about. No arm's length. This is a vehicle that could actually legally be invested in using RSP funds. That's what the trustee is for, because it's self-directed. You can still negotiate the terms directly with investor. Remember, this is a form of private lending. Same thing applies. You can be flexible. You can make sure you can meet each other's goal, create a win-win. The whole point is that you negotiate the terms just like private lending. However, it is regulated. It is regulated. SD stands for self-directed RSP. And before the funds could be transferred to the lawyer, usually if it's a private deal or if it's a regular real estate deal to be closed, the purchaser or the funds will be transferred to the lawyer directly. Here, you have the trustee in the middle. The funds will be in trust. Making sure you pass all the tests, due diligence done, the trustee will then transfer the funds to your lawyer. Okay, I just want to point that out. The ins and outs, I do want to make sure you understand how it works before you get into our RSP mortgage deal. And we do talk about it in the advanced creative financing class. If you were here with us last weekend, we also had a coffee chat on the subject as well. So as a community, we're always here to support you and provide you with the most updated information too. We're getting to the end. I do want to make sure that you know how much I appreciate you being here to invest in yourself. This is about ROI for yourself. I talk about money. I talk about time. How long? Really, you're investing in yourself, and that's the biggest investment. I love this exercise in case you haven't done it yet. On average in Canada, I know Richard is also in the room. I think in Canada and the States, we were lucky that the average life expectancy is about 83 years old. If you're a guy, I'm sorry, we live a little bit longer than you do. For the sake of the exercise, draw a chart. If you can live 83 years, how far along are you? Cross out each block one by one. Have a feel of how much time you have left. I know this is virtual. At the same time, Julia, you look awfully young. You might think you have a lot of time. However, think about how fast time passes. Mohammed, Dave, Diane, Chris, Jake, Benny, Miranda, not picking on anybody. Same thing. If you look back at, you know how sometimes we say, oh, that was 2 years ago that I did this. And when you actually look into it, that was actually 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So if you don't have a feeling of how much time you have left or how precious it is, ask yourself, where are you right now financially? We talked about cash flow, especially those of you who have kids. It's really about creating wealth. That's why I want to mention you're looking at creating the net worth, creating generational wealth. How much time do you have left? That's one thing. If you're looking at the chart, I can tell you when I look at it, when I'm 44, I thought, oh my God, next year, I have to double my net worth to keep myself on the chart of the top 1% Canadian. So if you're 35 today, looking at the chart, how much time do you have to be the top 1%? If you don't strive to do that, really, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have? How do you want to live the rest of your life? So if you're already 55 and older, let's work a little bit harder. Make your money run a little bit faster, because when you're in your 40s, when you want to continue to be the top 1%, you have to basically work twice as fast. Not everybody is blessed with a lot of time. I'm looking at Julia, I'm looking at Naga, a lot of people looking really young in their group. So really, how much time do you have left? I love spending time with you guys. It's really about spending time with whoever, however, whenever. And even though it's a weekday at 7:30 my time till 9:30 right now, this is how we decide to spend our time. If you don't have control over your time yet,
who do we spend most of our time with? This is our time spent with family. It starts with a lot and then drops dramatically in our 20s. This is our time spent with friends. It looks like it peaks when we're in college and then just drops. This is our time spent with our partner. That's where all of our time went. This is our time spent with children. This shows how little time we're going to be able to spend with our children before they grow up. This one is crazy to me. Time spent with coworkers is so high for so much of our life because of our jobs. Our time spent alone looks like it increases quite a bit the older we get and never stops growing. It's easy to forget how valuable time is.
I see a lot of you voted to get out of your JOB as one of your financial goals. Look at how much time you're spending with your coworker versus your kids. Before they're 18, that's the 80 or 90% of time you're gonna spend with them. So if you want to look for a more efficient way to do this, if you don't have a goal yet, if it's not clear, after we go through everything, make sure you book a time with your strategy coach. Everybody is trained and everybody was on the path you wanted to be on, or perhaps you're working towards it already. If it's not clear to you, this is the map that I'm working with today. Private lending, like how we speak about time, is really about scaling in a very efficient way. It's really about creating wealth. So yes, you can buy and sell to create capital. I know ultimately you want your money to work for you to create wealth. I hope you're inspired, you're educated. I know most people want to be educated here. That was my intention when I saw that was your goal to come into the seminar today. I hope you had a lot of fun. And if you didn't take away anything and you want to be educated today, remember the 3 rules of lending. ROI, how long, security. Everything in 3, I know it's easier for you to understand. We talk about 3 different instruments. It's not limited to 3. However, for the time we have today, I do want you to have a basic understanding of private lending, hard money, and RRSP. Do everything legally and share the wealth. Investor mindset is about abundance. It's about sharing the wealth. It's about you can do this, about taking action. And Matthew, I do acknowledge you, even though I only see this part of you. I know you're here with us, in case I haven't given you a chance to volunteer. I'll leave the last section for Q&A questions. Again, if I didn't stress it enough and you didn't write it down, you buy and sell to create capital. So you can buy and hold to create wealth. It's not about how much it costs you. It's about how much it makes you. Get used to the cost and get used to money flowing in abundantly to you. Money is your least limiting factor. Money is your least limiting factor. I mentioned that even if the bank says no, even if you exhaust the institutional resources, I'm only opening your eyes to 3 different ways. There's 8, there's 9, there's 10. So if you have any questions, or you want to see if there's more opportunities out there, or how to structure your financial goals, this is what I want you to do. If you don't know what to do next, if it's not clear to you yet, do 3 things, everything in 3. Ask for a copy of the webinar. If the numbers don't come naturally to you yet, it's a safe environment. Ask questions. You're allowed to make mistakes when you are calculating at this point. Completing your strategy plan. So I mentioned that perhaps you just focus on 3 strategies, 2 deals every 2 months. And ask about the upcoming bootcamp. We do want to see you live in person if you're in the GTA, or if you want to fly in to see us. There's also an online option as well. Speak to your strategy coach, see what suits you the most. And this is the time schedule. The online live is going to be happening really soon. Workshop in person, limited space. However, we do want to see you in person. I feel like we already know each other just throughout the 2 hours we have together. On top of that, if you just want to chat, we do have a coffee chat this Saturday as well. We're going to talk about asset protection. We do want you to do things ethically, and we do want you to have control over your assets too. There's other events coming up, so reach out to your strategy coaches. They will give you information on all the events as well. Thank you for spending the time with me today. I do want to acknowledge you for being here, and in case I haven't answered the questions, I haven't got a chance to look at the chat. I have 68 in red chat, so I love that you're participating. Any questions? Any question or comments, concerns? Thank you for all the smiles on screen. Thank you, May, for the nice smile. I appreciate that.
We enjoyed, you did really well. We learned a lot. Very inspiring. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
You helped me reach my goal. Thank you. Julia, I think you're the youngest here. I don't know.
No, I'm 30 years old actually, so not as not as young as you might think. But yeah, Brooke, it was amazing. Thank you so much for the session. I learned so much, and you had this positive vibe. So really appreciate it. So I do have a question. I actually didn't understand the numbers that was on the the ugly house and the pretty house calculation. So I wanted to kind of like maybe like go back to that slide if I
Sure.
possible.
Yeah, let me do this first. I'll send you the slides. However, I do want you to, do you have a strategy coach with you yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'll send you the slides, go through it, and then run through the numbers, because remember, participating and action will help you learn a little bit more. I get that when you're listening, you're reading the slides, it's a little bit harder to understand. By the way, what do you do?
Oh, I'm an analyst, e-commerce analyst.
Oh my God, okay. So math will be really easy for you, no worries. I'll send you the slides. I just want to make sure you have a chance to run the numbers yourself and calculate it. Reach out to one of the strategy coaches. Can you take a picture of the QR code right here?
Yeah, I screenshotted it, so I have it.
Perfect. And I'm pretty sure you can reach out to one of the strategy coaches very quickly. And where are you located? You're in GTA, right? Okay, so I'll see you in person in July.
Yeah, I'll be attending the Mississauga one in person, so I'm
Yes.
excited.
I'm excited to meet you too. Richard.
I have another quick question, if that's okay, or yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. When you do private lending, and if you're on second position, do you have, I know the answer is going to be depends, but in your past experience, how much of, when you are on second position, how much of an equity, of an LTV buffer do you give to yourself?
For a second position, remember the construction case that I put up? So I've been in the second position and even beyond 100% loan to value because I know the ARV will support it, the after repair value. And even if they default, actually in my case, before I bought my own home, I know that I can take on the whole deal. If they default, I can buy all the first position too. And it's a property in a market I know what to do with. So in terms of loan to value, I don't recommend that to everybody. However, in my case, it sounds like I took on a lot of risk. However, it is managed and it was within my control. So it doesn't matter the loan to value. So one of the things I actually go into private lending, I look at for the exit strategy. Is it a property I might be able to purchase and something I might be interested in? That's beyond the 3 pillars. At the same time, I look at it as one of the parameters. I look at as the collateral or security in my case. So it doesn't matter even if it's a high loan to value.
Did you cross collateralize in that case?
No, I got my money back. It's actually a very good property. I don't mind if I have to take over the property. No, I didn't have to. No problem. That's why I love real estate. You can get so creative. And like Richard said, a lot of the time, the answer is depends because there are so many different ways to structure it. So many different ways to exit the deal too. And yes, even though we only presented 3 different tools under the private lending umbrella, there are a lot you can do and even mix and match different vehicles to make the deal work. And I do see Nina and Vince and Mike, a lot of the people on the team are also present today. Anything to add or comment, or you can answer the questions too.
Yeah, you know, a lot of this, and some of us might be even having aha moments or breakthroughs right now. And I just want to say it's like this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like this is just the tip. And I know I talked to Jake about it the other day, and Jake's like, "Oh my God, like I'm so overwhelmed by all this. Like this is just the tip of the iceberg." And there's just so much more because you can start applying this knowledge to so many different strategies regarding real estate investing. And if you decide one day to branch off into businesses like other businesses or other different asset class, this knowledge is almost a soft strategy or soft skill that you can start to utilize anywhere, even when you're buying grocery and stuff too. Like it, like literally same rules apply. So yeah, I wanted to share that.
Yeah, and then we get so excited, right? Vince in the group talking about even buying cars. And I'll tell you, even for my water filter, same thing. I exercise creative financing strategy too. Because again, opportunity is always there.
I actually did the same thing, Brooke. I got the Culligan water filter. The entire house is filtered, so I can technically drink out of my toilet water now because that's how pure the water is. And I use creative financing to finance my entire water system. Why not?
Now with every purchase, you're gonna be looking at opportunities now. And yeah, I know it's late in some areas in Canada, so thank you all for being there. Janet, I do recognize that you logged in, and Matthew as well. Hi, Matthew. I do want to say hi. Hi. Did you enjoy the session? Did you have fun?
Yep, of course.
Any questions, concerns?
Not yet at the moment.
Okay. Not yet. So make sure you reach out to one of the strategy coaches because maybe you want to get the presentation and see if you happen to have some aha moments or even questions after you review it. Same thing for Juliet and everybody else on my screen. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We do have a coffee chat on Saturday. Everybody's invited. So come join us on a weekend just before Father's Day too. Any of the father in the group? Happy Father's Day. It's coming up pretty soon. Okay.
My very first Father's Day.
Extra special.
Extra special.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. And do take care. If you want to reach out to all the strategy coaches on the team, reach out to me, and you can book a time with one of the strategy coaches too, to further your learning. Take the next step. So I'll see you soon.